Welcome to the Break the Stigma podcast, where each episode we focus on raising awareness and debunking the negative stigma behind mental health.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hi. My name is Angel, and this is the Break the Stigma podcast. Today, I have a special guest, my best friend, Bella. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Bella. I am also 20 you're 20 now.
Yeah.
I'll be 20 in July. I went to Montclair with Angel. That's how I met her. Right now, I dropped out of college to pursue singing and a music career. Right now, I stream video games with my boyfriend too. Yeah, and obviously, the most important reason I'm here is because I also have borderline personality disorder.
Yes, so that is what we will be talking about in this episode, basically debunking the stigma behind it. In this episode, we're going to be talking about borderline personality disorder. For those of you that don't know, it's actually BPD Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
So that is, I feel like it's a good time to talk about it, debunk some stigma, because BPD isn't represented in media enough, and where it is represented, it's represented very poorly. So we're here to talk about what BPD is a little bit and how we manage our day-to-day life with it, and debunk some stigmas that you guys might know about BPD, like surrounding that. So do you want to start with like when you got diagnosed and how you knew you had BPD?
Yeah, okay. So this is a long story. I know most people's diagnosis is usually straightforward. You go to a psychiatrist, you get diagnosed, you get meds, you get treated. Well, so I first went to therapy when I was in 6th grade, and it wasn't for much. It was mainly for my brother. He had anger issues, and also to help me and my brother's relationship, which didn't really work out very well. So then when I was in 8th grade or 7th grade, I started having problems of my own. My parents were going through a divorce. The depression started hitting in. I went to another therapist, didn't work out. And then in January of my freshman year of high school, after my depression and identity issues and everything else started to like, I don't know what's the word, like supersede, like, like come out and be expressed more. I was already self-harming. I was already like having suicidal ideations. It wasn't fun. So my mom finally took me to a psychiatrist. And a therapist, but they were in the same office. So my first psychiatrist, she was very nice. She took me in, did like an evaluation on my mental state. She immediately diagnosed me with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and social anxiety disorder. And then she brought my mom in and explained to her that she thinks I have BPD, but at the time I was only 14 years old, so they're suggested not to diagnose any personality disorders when you're under 18 because your brain hasn't had enough time to like, I don't know, develop.
Yeah.
So she was like, I'm gonna put like a rule out. So it's not an official diagnosis, it's just like a rule out saying like, this is like most likely what's present. So she put that in my records, and so like since then I pretty much knew that I had it, because you know, like it's hard to tell when you're like a freshman and you're figuring yourself out and stuff, but I just like knew in my heart that it was different than what anyone else was going through. Like, I don't know, like I would sit there on a bus like going to and fro school and just like think about myself, listen to music, and like I would literally get so much anxiety just thinking about myself.
Yeah.
And like everything, it's so fuzzy now, because I don't know if you get this too, but depression blocks out huge chunks of memory in my brain, so I barely remember like my first 2 years of high school.
I don't remember anything like before senior year, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just a blur.
Like right after I saw my psychiatrist, I was on meds. She put me on Lexapro, and I had a suicide attempt right after that.
Yeah.
So that was like the major like I don't know, it was one of the major, like, mental health crises of my life, and, like, I'm thankful to have only, like, one official attempt, I guess, because most people have a lot of them before they get help that they need.
Yeah.
So my mom brought me to the ER, and they were like, yeah, to clear you, we have to have you, like, stay in this room for a little bit and just tell us that you're fine. I was like, I'm not fine. I want to kill myself right now. I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a valid way to cope, because it's
ridiculous
when you think back on it. Like, that's the only way that they weren't listening to you.
Yeah, so what wound up happening is I was in crisis, which is like a little bubble of mental, cage. And they had them come in and evaluate me, and I was like, yeah, I want to hurt myself right now. And I don't know, like, I felt like numb. Like, I knew I wanted to hurt myself, but it was like, I wasn't sitting there crying, you know? It was just like, oh, okay, I'm in a hospital right now,
just accepting reality.
Yeah.
What it is. Yeah.
Like, almost like I wasn't accepting it, though. I was like, it felt like normal.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I don't know, trauma, I guess. Like, most people are like, BPD, like, happens from a place of trauma. Like, I know you have valid trauma, for BPD. But I feel, like, guilty sometimes. I feel like I didn't experience as much trauma as other people. Like, I guess, like, when I think about it, some bad things have happened. Like, my parents' divorce is obviously, like, a really common problem.
Yeah.
And then, like, my brother treated me like shit growing up. Like, he would bump me into walls and throw things at me. But, like, it was seen as normal, like a normal brother and sister thing. But, like, we never really...
And you don't have to have, like, extreme trauma to have BPD. Like, it doesn't have to go to, like, the extreme that other people's do. It could be something as like, not trying to minimize, but it could be something as, like, simple as a divorce, or it could be as extreme as, like, witnessing suicide happen. Like, there's, like, different spectrums of trauma. It's not just a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah, I never really, like, considered it like that, because everyone's like, oh, like, I was, like, sexually assaulted or physically assaulted or stuff like that. But one of the, like, most traumatizing events, I think, of, like, my life, besides my suicide attempt, also my freshman year of high school, my mom was going through an insane depression because her and my dad finally split up in, like, my 8th grade year of middle school. But one night my dad was at work, he didn't come home yet, and my brother was just chilling in his room. My mom, like, came into my room, I was just chilling too, and she was, like, crying her eyes out, and she was like, if anything happens to me, this is what I took. And she, like, handed me a list of, like, pills that she took. My dad wasn't home yet, so he had no idea what was happening. And if, like, the ambulance came and she was fine, she would be pissed off at me, and I didn't, like, I don't know. I was so scared. So I needed to sleep because I had school in the morning the next day. And I got up and I barely slept all night because I was terrified. And the first thing I did in the morning, I was like, I need to go check on her.
And were you, like, you were still only 14, so, like, were you in therapy at that point talking about it, and they still thought that you had BPD, or, like, was it still, like, they weren't?
I don't think I told anyone about it when it happened.
Okay.
I still don't know if my therapist knows about it. One of the things I struggle with the most is my fear of abandonment for BPD.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also stemmed from several things in my life, like the summer before high school, like I was saying, like all those friends who like were like toxic towards me and like were using me as like a therapist or whatever. And my friend texted me out of nowhere. She was like, I can't be your friend anymore. Like, we've been friends since 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
We were practically sisters. She was like my only like best friend. The next day, my boyfriend's parents found out, and they treated me like a monster. They like kept talking to him, saying, "Oh, be careful of her. She's gonna hurt you." Like, because
saying that to who?
to my boyfriend.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because they found out I had severe depression.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the trauma, like, not the trauma, the stigma when it comes to mental health. Like, oh, like, they're a monster, like, they're gonna hurt you. Like, I still don't have a good relationship with his parents, like, because of that now.
My story with getting diagnosed wasn't as hectic as that. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that.
It's okay. I mean, I just got, all of this is boiling down to the fact that I just got officially diagnosed with BPD.
You actually did?
You like 2 months ago,
okay.
Yes.
That's good.
I was like, after years and years, what was it, like 6 years now?
Yeah.
I was like, I want to have this diagnosis. I'm tired of being this limbo. I'm 20 years old now.
Yeah.
Like, when I was 18, I brought it up and they were like, I don't think you need it.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing too, like, people think that labels are bad, but as someone, like, struggling with something and not having a label on it, you just think that you're crazy if there's no label on it.
There's so many people who are like, I'm afraid to get help because I think I'm faking it.
Yeah.
And, like, just having that there is assurance, like, enough, I feel like. And my therapist is always like, treat the symptoms, not the disorder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but I have all the symptoms, so what's the point in not, like, diagnosing the disorder?
Exactly. And there's people out there that don't even know that they have something as severe as BPD. Like, with me, I was, like, wrongly diagnosed with bipolar when I first got diagnosed. They told me that I had bipolar. And, I mean, I have some symptoms of bipolar, but BPD, I feel like, is the more extreme version of it. And so whenever I got the bipolar label, it was like, yeah, like, that's okay, but, like, it's not enough because bipolar isn't, like, I feel things so much more extremely than people that have bipolar.
Yeah, bipolar isn't BPD. It, like, you literally sent to me, like, what is the most painful mental disorder, and it comes up in Google, borderline personality.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say our mental illness is, like, worse than other people's, but it's very, very painful, and it's very extreme.
It definitely is.
And no one knows anything about it because no one gets diagnosed with it, or very commonly gets misdiagnosed with bipolar.
What's up, guys? We are back.
Hello.
So that first half of the episode was a little bit heavier, so we're gonna try and make it a little bit on the lighter side and just talk about some of the general misconceptions about BPD and overall debunking the stigma behind everything about it. So we talked about how one of the biggest misconceptions of people with BPD is that they can't function well in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And Bella and I are both in very happy relationships. We've been in them for years. You've been with your boyfriend for like 5 years.
Just 5 years.
5 years.
Up. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'll be with mine for 2 years in May, and it's healthy. Like, it's okay. Like, we don't struggle. I mean, do you have any like significant like issues in your relationships?
I mean, at first it was very hard. Like, as time progressed, like in our first beginning of a relationship, I was terribly, like, I guess a little bit controlling because I was scared of, like, he was the only person I had, so I needed to be with him 24/7.
It also goes with that, like, fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
So, like, trying to like get them to not leave you, so you have to control. Like,
everything stems back to that.
Yeah.
Like, for me anyway. Like, I'm just scared on the inside. Like, I angry and stuff, and I like lash out because I don't want people to leave because it happens so often.
Yeah.
Like, for someone who's scared of abandonment, I get abandoned very often.
Exactly. I've been abandoned by therapists, which makes it, like, even worse. Like, the people that aren't supposed to abandon you.
Yeah.
Abandon you. And, like, it's, especially, like, when it comes to parents, too, like, do you feel like you were abandoned by your mom? Or, like, do you feel like it was...
I mean...
she moved away because it was, like, something that she needed to do?
Okay, so that's another thing. At first, I felt heartbroken because my mom was, like, my everything. My mom has, like, bipolar, too. When I was younger, our relationship was shaky because all of the stuff that she did, like, whatever. But as I got a little bit older, I understood that she was dealing with bipolar as well. And so, like, I was able to converse with her and stuff. And she was the only person that I told, like, I self-harmed and that believed me when I said, like, I was having all these issues and I needed to go to a psychiatrist and stuff. So when she moved away, it was really heartbreaking.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me with my dad. For anyone watching that doesn't know, I think everyone watching does know. I have a younger brother, from a different mom. But whenever whenever my dad lived with my brother, I felt like jealous of my brother because he was getting all of my dad's attention. Well, not all of it, but like they were living together, so obviously that was like more. And I felt abandoned at one point in my life, but like again, it wasn't my dad's fault. Like he had another kid to take care of. But looking back on it, like whenever I was younger, it was definitely like the end of the world.
And then we take it to heart. We think it's our fault.
Exactly. It was definitely like an internalized thing.
And still now, like, I'm always like, there has to be something wrong with me for people to keep walking out of my life like this.
Yeah.
Like, I still struggle with that. Where I'm like, some days I'm like, alright, fuck you. Like, I am who I am. Take me or leave me.
Exactly.
And then other days I'm like, damn, my self-worth is like down here right now.
Yeah.
Because like where is anyone? Where are my friends? You know, where, like, I don't know. It's hard. But I also think something that's gotten harder for me over the years, like my relationship has gotten way better because I went through DBT too.
Yeah, that
which
helps.
is like specialized for borderline. And so that incredibly helped my relationship. Dude, I don't know where I would be without my boyfriend right now.
Same.
He is literally the most understanding, like sympathetic, and we both have self-worth too. Like, without him, if I was with anyone else, I would be like that psycho crazy bitch, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, if I had anyone else, I'd be seen as that crazy ex-girlfriend. He takes the time to understand my illness.
Yeah.
And he takes the time to understand that I'm working on myself. And that I have worked on myself for like 6 years now.
Yeah, with Levi, he like, I feel bad because I always try and push him away because I have a whole like, I'm gonna leave you before you leave me type mindset because I'm always scared that he's gonna leave. But every time he always like reassures me like, no, like you're fine, I'm not leaving, I'm not like, I always felt like with my past relationships before him that they were like scared of me. And because like you said, like people with BPD are perceived as monsters, and like it's something that's like huge, and like they're gonna hurt you and they're gonna manipulate you and they're gonna do all of these disastrous things. And so I always was afraid that like I was just pushing everyone away and scaring them away with my mental illness. And so that's why I tried to like, I guess, make a different personality for myself, which also is a borderline thing. Like I have different personalities based on who I hang out with and who I'm with at the time, and I want to be my full authentic self for my boyfriend and for my friends that I care about, but it's like something that's ingrained in my mind that I need to like change every aspect about my personality to make people like me, because I don't want to be perceived as someone with a personality disorder.
Yeah, and that's what people like don't understand. That's what separates BPD from like a mood disorder. You know, we have that whole identity, personality BS. It's like you see on these borderline groups, everyone being like, oh, like, who am I gonna be today? Like, I'm hanging out with this person. Time to put on my other personality. Yeah. And like, there's these funny memes that are like, when you're hanging with all of your friends at once,
and you don't know which personality
you
choose. I've seen that meme. Yeah. Or like all the different masks that you have to put on. It's like crazy, and it's like so tiring. It's exhausting. People don't realize that like we're not trying to change our personality for like anyone else. It's for ourselves, and it's exhausting. Like we don't want to have to do that.
It's like we feel like we have to be someone else for different people so they don't walk away. I feel like it comes down for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know like how it is like for other people. Everyone has their reasons for doing the stuff that they do. Yeah,
definitely. Now I wanted to get into what we think personally is like, there's many traits about BPD, and both of us have almost all of them just checked off. But I wanted to get into what we think is the hardest aspect of having BPD. For me, it's that I feel like everything that goes wrong in my life is the absolute end of the world, and that I need to like not be alive because of it. Like I could literally like drop my bowl of food on the floor and I would think that I deserve to die because of it, and it's the end of the world, versus just being, to anyone else it would just be like some minor inconvenience that happened and they would move on. But for me, it's like the absolute end of the world, black and white. There's no in between thinking with it. So what is it for you?
I don't know. I have extreme like splitting like problems. Like I've ruined all of my relationships within the past
splitting is
year.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, it's okay. It's splitting is a term specific to borderline personality disorder. When you either love something or hate something within a matter of minutes, hours, days, like very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Usually it's with people. It's like that kind of black and white thinking, like you were saying. Like one day, like you'll love someone, you'll idolize them, and then they'll like do the tiniest thing, or they don't even have to do something at all. And the next day you'll be like, damn, what the hell was I thinking? This person sucks, I hate them, whatever. And like that's happened to like most of my friendships, and why I like walk away from people and like just start like ghosting them. And I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I self-sabotage my relationships because of that. And I have so much anger and like resentment in me. I don't know. Like it's like a form of self-protection almost. And just there's so much, like you said, like I'll go through like all of my emotions in one day. And it's so hard to get through life like this because I have to deal with my emotions 10 times worse than the average person.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting, you know, like I know we're gonna touch on this again, but without my medication, without DBT, without therapy, like I wouldn't be alive today.
Yeah.
Like it shouldn't be seen as a sign of weakness.
And people also don't understand that medication isn't, like you said, it's not a sign of weakness. It's because we literally lack the chemicals in our brain that we need to function. Like, we don't have serotonin in our brain, so the medication helps implant, whatever the word is, the serotonin into our brain. It's not just we're taking drugs to, like, get away from reality. It's literally that we cannot function everyday life without having those certain chemicals in our brain to help us function.
People think it's bullshit, you know, like people who don't struggle with mental illness saying, oh, you're making it up, it's a scapegoat, like you don't want to admit to stuff. And I'm like, no, it's literally physical too. It's just as physical as it is emotional and stuff. Like that's why we take the medication we have, is to boost the levels. It's not just a magic pill that we take.
And I definitely think that people don't realize that mental pain is a lot worse than physical pain. Not minimizing like physical pain, obviously. Like if you break your leg, that hurts. But like mental pain is like an excruciating thing that no one, like you wouldn't understand unless you struggle with a mental illness. But it's something that you have to deal with every single day. If you break your leg, it's gonna heal eventually. Like if you I don't know, sprain your ankle, it's gonna heal eventually. If you get in a car accident and your face is all busted, it'll heal eventually. But like with mental illness, that's something you deal with every aspect of every day until you take your last breath. Like it's something that never goes away. You have to deal with it every single day.
And that's something I struggle with too. It's exhausting thinking about that it'll never go away. No matter how much I treat myself, go to therapy, I'm always like, I'm gonna have to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know. Since my junior year or sophomore year, I've been on Lamictal, which is like one of the most common like mood stabilizers. So that helped with my anger, my irritation, my mood swings, like intensely. Like my Lamictal is like my rock. Like I don't know
my best friend.
Without my Lamictal, I'd be a whole nother person.
Exactly. I was also on Lamictal, but the only reason I changed it actually is because I don't know if this is an issue for you, but I am very stubborn when it comes to taking pills because I feel like in my brain I don't need them, even though I know I do. So I don't like taking pills. So my psychiatrist came up with a solution. There's only certain medications that they have this for, but there's a drug called Abilify, which is also a mood stabilizer, and they have an injection for it. So instead of taking the pill, they just inject. It's basically just a shot, and it basically puts the serotonin into you like that instead of orally taking it. And that helped me a lot because I'm very non-compliant when it comes to taking pills. But I'm on that, and then I'm on an oral of Zoloft, and Zoloft is like the most
I'm on Zoloft right now too. I just changed the Zoloft from Paxil because of weight gain, and though I don't seem to be losing any weight anyway because antidepressants
right away.
But anyway, I also don't like being on medication. I always I'm like, I don't want to take medicine anymore. Like I'm done with this.
Cut it cold turkey.
But I'm like, I'm always like to my boyfriend, I'm gonna do it, and he's like, don't do that. You're dumb. That would be the dumbest thing ever.
Literally.
And he literally gets mad at me when I suggest it, and I'm like, okay, I won't die.
With that being said, I think that this has been a great episode. What do you think? How did you feel your first time being on a podcast?
I mean, it's great. I still feel like I have so much to say.
Do you have anything specific you want to touch on before we go?
I feel like people with BPD attract people with BPD, and
that's why we're friends.
Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't work out very well, and I hate them.
Yeah.
Like, I've met...
Like, I realized, I think that we're better as friends than we are as roommates. Like, whenever we were roommates, that was horrible.
Yes.
It was so bad.
That was terrible.
I mean, I love you so much. And, like, we had so much fun, like, over the summer doing our adventures and stuff. But when we lived together, that was just absolute shit.
Don't live with someone else with BPD, y'all.
If you can take one thing from this episode, do not live with someone that has borderline personality disorder if you also have borderline personality disorder.
Yeah, it's hard. On that note,
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. And thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and I hope that you both learned something, or if you also have borderline related to it, maybe this made you realize that you should see a psychiatrist if you experience any of the symptoms that we talked about. But no self-diagnosing. We don't approve of that.
No.
Definitely see a psychiatrist, see a professional, please.
And don't be scared. Don't think it's weakness, because in the long run, you'll be stronger.
Yes, BPD is a very complex disorder, and self-diagnosing can be dangerous. You don't just want to get yourself on medication for BPD if you don't actually have it, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.